Good evening, everyone. We are back to discuss more Disney movies, continuing our 100 Years of Wonder retrospective. We're almost done. We're in like the final stretch now. We're at number 60 today with Strange World. Do you remember that one? Yeah, no one else does either. This is not only one of Disney's biggest critical and box office bombs. This is one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. This was huge. So this was done on a budget of about 180 million and only grossed 73, losing roughly 197 mil to Disney.
73, not million, just 73 quid. They just
just 70, yeah, 73 million.
There was just a family that went to the cinema one day and went, "Should we watch it?" And that was it. And no one saw it.
Now we've reviewed some Disney films already that haven't made much money or might be looked down upon and whatnot. I think even Black Cauldron was a box office bomb, if I remember rightly, and almost tanked the whole company. We love that one. Hell, you watched that one like 4 times before we did the review on that. So just because it doesn't make money doesn't necessarily make it a bad movie. Now, is this one a bad movie? Well, we'll get into that with our review when we get into the discussion of it. So we'll keep that mum for now. We've got a comment from King SeaWorld Man first this time.
I was guessing Brian Emery.
Yeah, Brian, where you're at, man. Hopefully you tune in and drop a comment halfway through this. So this film is mediocre. Saw just once. They can do better, more creative storyline, but animation looked fair. Yeah, I think
agree with the animation.
Yeah, you had hang-ups on the animation with this one, didn't you?
I think they all look like bubble people. They were just. It had a weird. I don't know if that makes sense, but they had a weird bubble look to their people, their noses, their everything. I mean, I won't deny that it looked nice. Like it didn't look Chicken Little. It didn't look a bit like, what the hell are you doing? But they all had a weird bubble effect that was just a bit like, do you get what I mean? Like a weird, I don't know. And it was a bit like, I don't know.
They looked like Pixar characters. They look like Pixar characters in this one.
Have you seen those fake Pixar posters? Like, like Loot, and it's got a load of black people robbing a shop. It looked like that.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. I saw another one, Squirt, and it was a woman like on a bed with with a load of water coming out of her legs. It was great.
Disney, everyone. Aren't you glad you tuned into this?
It was amazing. But that's what it looked like. It just looked, I didn't like the animation.
Look here. Yeah, Carl says, I started watching this today in preparation for this review. Turned it off after 20 minutes. So much box ticking. I agree. They even had a 3-legged dog. Yeah, they had a disabled dog who, unironically, is probably one of the better characters in the film. My favorite 2 characters in this film are the 2 characters that don't talk. One of them barks. But Splat and Legend the dog were my 2 favorite characters in this film.
Yep, so much box ticking, so much fucking. They didn't. It was a weird one. It's a weird one because it was not as bad as I thought it would be.
Same,
but it was. That's the thing. I can't. I mean, I can't openly. I can't do you know what I mean? I can't
articulate. Articulate, I think is the word, right?
No, I don't know, but I can't just straight up say it was a bad movie. I hated it. You know what I mean? But it was just not right. Like there was just things that I didn't like any of the characters. I mean, I like Lucy Liu's character because I could see Lucy Liu behind it, and I was like, this is nice. But aside from, you know what I mean? I didn't like any of them. I didn't. They were all shit. But the one thing I think I said it to you that I did. I don't even know if I liked it, but I think some of the dialogue was, it felt very Disney, and I did like it. So, there was some dialogue was fucking awful. I really hated, but there was some that I went, do you know what? It felt Disney to me.
Yeah, you mentioned that some of the dialogue reminded you of like the old school adventure shows, what was it? Not DuckTales. What was the one with like Baloo the bear and he was a pilot? What was that one? Was that Jungle Tailspin? That's it. Like stuff like that, or
some stuff just reminded me of a whole I mean, even a bit of could be Recess, something like that. It was just. And when I only not like the funny moments, because there weren't any. The funny moments pissed me off. I knew where they were meant to be, but I was sat there they'd make a joke, and I'd be in my head being like, I was meant to laugh at that, wasn't I? Huh.
Mm.
Like that was what it's like. But there were moments when so like when you get the two gay characters, which really annoyed me, but you get the two gay characters that are like the way they, you know, talk to each other sometimes was just so shit, but sometimes there were just things they said where I was like, if it was traditional animation, if it was a guy and a girl and they weren't, you know, forcibly doing the whole, oh, we got a gay person and they got to be black and we got to do all this kind of stuff, the dialogue felt like it would fit in certain places in other Disney projects. So there were bits that worked, but there was also so much that just didn't.
Yeah. I completely agree with Carl here as well. He says, just felt like so much backslapping from Disney. Look how progressive we are. Yeah. And you know what? I'd heard about the film. I didn't know anything about the story. All I had heard from this movie was that, number one, it had lost a shit ton of money. And number two, it was massively progressive and woke and has got all of this junk in the movie. That was what I'd heard before going into this movie. We both watched this for the first time in preparation for this review, and I agree with you in that maybe my standards in my mind were so low before watching it that it went above those. I don't think this is awful, and actually I don't think this is the worst Disney film that we've reviewed in this retrospective so far. Encanto, I think overall Encanto is probably a better movie. It's probably more Disney.
Yeah,
it had some themes going on. I do think that Encanto, as we expressed in our review, I think Encanto has themes, but I think by the end of it, it completely butchers those, and the meaning and the message behind the movie is actually quite spiteful and very self-centered and narcissistic. We discussed that last time. Yeah. But there are moments of beauty in that film, and you do have the musical aspect, which I think makes it more Disney and probably more appealing to a mass audience than this one. This one, I remember the marketing just being awful. It was like a new Disney film, and there was like maybe one trailer that I watched a bit of.
Have you seen the interviews for it? And they just look so dead, sound so uninterested in it. And it just felt like the movie was just, they did it and they went, there was no love given to it.
Well, they probably had a whole bunch of buzzwords that they had to say, and a script, you know, mentioned the LGBT character, you know. Sorry, Jesus.
That character pissed me off, not because he was, I mean, be gay, do what you want, but like, it pissed me off because it was box ticking. I mean, you know, because one of them, like the main, he was a black gay character. It's like, you're just doing everything.
But
look like a woman as well. And it's like, oh, you're doing the whole thing of like, look at him, he's dressed this kind of way. The other gay character looked like a nice gem. They did the whole fucking like, look at him, he's got to look this way. Even the girl on the truck, like she was a girl that she had multicolored hair. Like it's like they tried to do the whole, let's put that kind of scene into it. And it's like, it felt pushed.
It didn't fit with the aesthetic, did it, of what had been established from the intro?
What didn't fit, and I think you said this as well, the whole like, you know, the dad wouldn't, he accepted it too much that he was gay. And I get it, it's a kid's movie. I do, like, I'm not saying he should have been all like, you know, son, no cock should go in the arse. I'm not saying he should have done that, but it just felt out of place, you know?
Yeah, it totally did. And to me, this film feels like they had a pretty cool premise of what they wanted to do. So the director, Don Hall, he was a co-director on Moana, which we both really enjoyed. And his inspiration was that he wanted to create a film that drew inspiration from kind of like adventure serials, pulp magazines, stuff like Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Do you know what else? Do you know what else wanted to draw inspiration from adventure serials? Indiana Jones, and that was a good movie. So
it was. Until it hit the fourth one.
You can do it well.
Well, yeah, and even the font. My God, look at like below us. The font is pretty much stolen exactly from Indiana Jones. It's the same color scheme. You know, the director was also inspired by stories like Jurassic Park, King Kong, things where a cast of characters and supporting characters go to a new kingdom and they're adventuring through it, journeying through it. For either conquest or just to stay alive, exploring this new place. And that's a really cool concept. And I think done well. Me and you both disagree on this, but I agree with Carl here, who says the annoying thing is the opening was great, really had that Indiana Jones vibe, and I agree. You had the traditional animation in there. It was really capturing, I thought, what the premise was meant to be. That pulpy call to arms. You have actually, I think the soundtrack to this, the score itself by Henry Jackman, is great, and you have was it like Jaeger Cage, and the music sounds like this big rousing call to adventure, Indiana Jones style. It kind of reminded me, you know, the intro to George of the Jungle, how you have that like animated segment at the beginning of that. I was like, this is good. And then as soon as it hit the CGI animation, and then I was still kind of with it then. Then we get our time jump, and then we're on the farm, and then we start the box ticking, and I was like, ah.
Well,
it felt like a product that had potential but became compromised. It felt like you probably had a lot of people at Disney, some of the higher ups, saying, okay, you can do this, but let's get this character in here. Let's push this agenda in there.
You know, he was on a farm. They should have done. They should have made it a cotton farm. You know, his kids should have been fucking, you know, picking cotton, and they should have just, you know, made it accurate, historically accurate.
Oh dear.
But no, there's a song on an album called Fair Warning by this little band called Van Halen that push comes to shove, that it's, when I listened to it, I went, this isn't what I expected. And that's what I thought when I saw this. I was like, it's not what I expected. It was better than I expected. There was some nice aesthetics to it, like some nice environments, like when you see the eye of the, you know, when you see that and they're like, oh, it's an eye, and you see the ocean behind them, that looked really nice. You know, there's some nice parts about it. Even when they're all like flying on that ship, it felt like a nice family movie at that point when they're flying out and they're inside that. You know, there were some nice points. I think it was ruined with what they were just trying to push with the agenda, and you know, they made every character, but I don't really remember much personality from any character. You know, it was very like Lucy Liu's character. I can't even tell you anything she really did. She was just kind of there, and I was like, okay, if they didn't focus so much on making her, you know, this butch, big, like, oh, I am a woman of power, all that kind of bollocks, could have turned into a good movie. They could have had Lucy Liu turn up, go, Harry, like, you know what I mean? But like, rather than doing that, they could have done, like, they could have. It had potential. I think there was something there to make it a good movie. It just felt like we've got to do it this way, and it was weird.
But if there's a review that's going to get us cancelled, it's going to be this one tonight, isn't it? Good God. But no, I agree. It's like they have...
intro I hated, though. I hated the intro.
Yeah, you hated the intro. Why? What was it about the intro that you didn't like?
I don't know. I really don't know what it was. Maybe it is because it felt like they were trying to do something, and I instantly hated Jaeger's design. I just thought he looked like an idiot. I thought it looked like Santa's gone hunting. Like, I don't know. He reminded me of someone, I don't know who, but like, it was just, yeah, I didn't like him, and then I didn't like his character, and I thought he was a bit stupid, and then I don't know, but that obviously came later. I just didn't like his design. I didn't like what they were doing. I did not like that music. I thought it was a bit too... I didn't like that there was a comic book style to it, because there was. And you can say it's great, and in some ways, like, you know, I understand what you're saying, but I didn't like that was put in this movie.
But that's what the whole premise was based on, and I thought in that first bit they were nailing it. I'm like, yes, you keep this going, keep this energy going, and they really didn't. After that.
Think because I saw the poster as well, and it didn't give off that. I thought, how are they going to do that with what I've seen? It just all felt out of place to me.
Mm-hmm. See, I like the intro. You have Alan Tudyk as well. He voices like 3 characters in this film. It's kind of Disney's Lucky Charm, and he does the voice of the announcer, and I like that. It was like, yeah, this is Avalonia, the place of the future. You know, that kind of old timey style. I really dug that. I thought that was great, and then it just very, very quickly went downhill after that point. Got Carl saying, seeing Dale in a shirt, you can only imagine him at work in a business meeting. That reminds me of Van Halen. That is something that you would do and probably have done.
I'm sure I have done that. If not, that is going to be my next task. I'm going to get Van Halen into my next meeting.
We've got Mr. M as well. Very mysterious name. Mr. M, who says, hello.
Do you know what that reminds me of? Oh, do you remember Phone Jacker?
I think that's probably what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
My name is Brian Badondi.
That's it. That's the one, yeah.
It's fucking great. Yeah, okay, so let's dissect this a little bit more then. So, as we said, that was the premise, and I think it feels like a premise that became compromised. Now, for me, the weakest areas of this movie is similar to what Carl said, in that it feels like the whole backslapping from Disney. You know, we've got to try and be as inclusive as possible. We've got to have mixed race this character, black this character, Asian this character, Native American, I think even this character. I'm going to have all of these things in. It's notable that this is probably what we've already alluded to. This is the first film in the Disney Animation Studios catalog, in the Disney canon, that has its first openly LGBTQ lead character. And my God, do they want to reinforce that? Now, here's the thing. If they want to have a gay character in the film, I genuinely don't have a problem with that at all. That's fine. But it felt like the fucking flag waving, you know, have a character be gay and just move on without it. But of course, Disney can't do that, can they? They got to have, oh, he's so cute, and like I want to like talk to him because he's so cute and he makes me feel this way. I'm like, he just have him be a character. You know, it's just, it felt like they were really flying the flag for it. Every single conversation with him and other characters is to do with his sexuality. Everything. He doesn't have a personality. He doesn't have a character. His whole identity is him being gay. And it just feels like the easiest, most trite thing you can do with this character. And that's when it doesn't feel genuine. That's when it feels like it's crowbarred into a project. They're not a character, they're an identity.
Yeah, isn't that like most of the LGBT community? Like, they don't have a personality, so gay is just their thing.
I wait. I'm not going to speak for everyone in the LGBTQ community at all. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that guy. But within this film, it very much feels like Disney doing a gay character. It feels like we've got to make such a big deal. You can see that probably in the marketing, in probably all the interviews that you've mentioned, that would always be a topic to bring up. And it's like, fine, just have them be a character. Still give them a personality. Still give them a stake in the story. It doesn't need to be so forced, you know, throughout. And it did feel forced. It felt completely crowbarred in and didn't feel naturalistic in the story. And actually felt almost, dare I say, offensive to, you know, like any gay viewers and whatnot, because it's just like your sexuality and everything, that is the only thing that defines you. You don't have a personality. You don't have interests. You don't have
gay people don't have a personality.
Oh my God.
The fun thing about this is I am joking about that, but you know, it's fun.
Yeah. Hey, we've got Brian Emery. He says, hey, sorry I'm late. I am busy. And this is the first Disney animated movie to have gay characters. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Well, do you know, it's funny that it is. That is true. But when I read up about Raya and the Last Dragon, that was one that said it was the first as well, because I don't know which character you're speaking about now. I can't remember, but I
probably
read
the villain, was it? Was it the villain?
It might have been, but I read a bit about it before and it said it was the first to have it. Then I watched the movie and I was like, where? But that was also the same with Frozen. They went, Elsa's gay, and I like from the second one I watched it and I went, where? So I do think there was definitely some agenda in everywhere being like, oh, they're gay because of this. I'm like, no, they're not. Like, stop. Why are we putting sexuality on anyone? You know,
and it wasn't just that as well. You have the very, very diverse rest of the cast and the crew also don't really have any personalities. I couldn't really tell you anything about the characters. So you have all of these strong, empowered, dare I say, kind of masculine and butch women all the way throughout this film. And all of the male lead characters, they're not capable, they're idiots, they're buffoons, they need to get saved left, right, and center by the very capable women who are played by great actresses. You know, Lucy Liu is pretty damn good. You know, she's a good action heroine, but you got to have a personality along with that, and I don't feel like any of the supporting characters do. The only characters I kind of liked were the charming comic relief characters that didn't talk. As I mentioned, Legend, the three-legged dog, I thought was really cute. But you know, I'm a dog guy. And Splat, who actually was reminding me of many of the mannerisms of the magic carpet from Aladdin. Probably one of the first examples. Well, actually, no, I won't say first example of a silent character, because you have Dopey in the original Snow White. But how so much of it relies on the physicality of the character. There's no face, there's no expression to discern any kind of human emotion from. So it's all in body language and movement.
Yeah.
And I really like Splat. I thought Splat was a really endearing character and my favorite. The only moment in the film that got a chuckle out of me is where they're trying to get through a door and it's locked, and Legend, the dog, is on the other side of the door, and the family are like, come on, Legend, open the door, come on, boy, you know how to do it, and everything. And Splat, who's with the family, literally just slinks underneath the door and helps the dog unlock it. He could have done that from the beginning, and it wasn't even a laugh. It was a that was the only rise the film got out of me at any point. It's frustrating because there are themes in there. There's themes of, you know, fathers, sons, grandsons, family, expectations, and
weirdly,
you know,
that theme is what I didn't like about the third Indiana Jones movie.
I know, yeah, as it's sort of like the forefront of this one, really. It's sort of having your own legacy, having your own identity, and just letting someone be who they want to be. And these are all good, you know, themes. I'm a sucker for a good father and son story when it's done well. And I think to that end, I think a lot of the themes were done quite well in this, in that they are sharing this adventure on it. There was one thing towards the end of the film which I felt was really weird. So they mentioned that Jaeger's disappeared and been thought dead for 25 years. His son is on this farm. He's built his own life. And when he reunites with his dad, he says that mom's gone and you're expecting that she's dead. And he says, oh, no, she moved on. Like, she thought you died and she's hooked up with, like, the neighbor or whatever. And then at the end of the film, it's in this quick little montage as we're tying all the characters' loose threads up. There's a moment where Jaeger goes to his former wife's house, knocks on the door, and he's got a bouquet of flowers. And he's welcomed in with open arms from his essentially ex-wife and her new lover. Wouldn't that be a crushing, emotional, existential experience for his ex-wife, who had thought him dead for 25 years, had grieved and moved on and found new love and created a new life for herself, only to see that the man she once loved and had children with is still alive and at her door? And we don't get any of that. That is not a reaction that you would have. That is a huge cataclysmic moment.
That is true, yeah.
And it was really weird to me.
It's lack of personality again, isn't it?
Yeah, I think probably the weakest thing in this are the characters. These are two big things. I would say the writing, but it's really the story. I don't think has much narrative thrust throughout it. I don't mind it. I like a lot of the concepts in it, but it doesn't really have that, you know, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom. I'm also including Last Crusade in that. Has that really, like, yeah, adventure, let's go. This film really doesn't have that.
But the thing is as well, every story kind of, it depends how you execute a story. So, like, you know, you've got things like, take Star Wars, for example. Realistically, it's like a father-son story. It's like about a family. It's quite, you know, it's a soap opera. It's a drama, you know. But they were like, but how can we tell this differently with space wizards? And like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's how you tell the story. It's the way the characters are with each other. Like, this is an adventure. And ultimately with the whole, like, oh, you know, we're like this world's alive and it's got, it's like, oh, this is a cool thing. But it was just like, I didn't care about either characters. You know, I found them more annoying than anything. And it just, the execution was a bit like, yeah, you know?
Yeah, I thought the writing was pretty... So this was written by, I'm probably absolutely butchering this pronunciation, Ki Nguyen. Previously had written Raya and the Last Dragon, and then this one. Raya and the Last Dragon isn't one of my favorites at all. I think I mentioned that on the review. There's bits of it I like, but I just
makes it look like fucking Shaft.
Like, I understand that reference.
Yes.
But there is a lot that I do like about this film, and I think it's inherently the conceptual design, the look of it. I mean, we've got some wonderful concept art from the film behind us. I really like this world. I love the color scheme. I love how vibrant it is. I find the creatures in there really creative. And I think the twist actually kind of works for me when you find out what the actual strange world is and what it leads to. I thought that was a really interesting take, and does kind of make you reevaluate the whole film from the beginning and like, oh yeah, this makes sense and whatnot. In the, I guess this is a spoiler alert for the movie, we're in the belly of a giant sort of Discworld turtle, this sort of like cosmic turtle that's on this water planet, and Avalonia, the place where the main characters come from. this huge expansive world is just merely on top of this beast's shell, and the journey through the strange world, they're essentially working through its innards. And when you find that out and like you look at the creatures, I really like the design for the creatures because they are very like biological. You have this sort of sea of little red creatures that when you realize, it's like, oh, that's like a bloodstream, or that's like the airways or something, of like the lungs breathing or something. You have these little things fighting infection and whatnot and letting things grow back again. So I thought that was a really interesting concept. There were bits of it that reminded me of the world of Pandora from Avatar and things like that. You've got a lot of sort of
shit movie.
Also an incredibly shit movie, but those like fiber optic sort of little flying creatures and whatnot. And I really loved the actual world itself. I thought it was really, really beautifully realized and something different than what I'd seen before. I think they got quite creative with it before. I realized I just said I haven't seen it before, and then in the previous sentence I just said it reminded me of Pandora. But insofar as that you have these little creatures that light up, fiber optic and whatnot, I don't know. I kind of dug the world in this one. Yeah.
Fireflies light up.
Yeah. And how everything's in kind of harmony. You do have some dangerous ones that chase you down. And then, yeah, when you bring it down to it's actually the biology of this actual giant sea turtle, it kind of works. And I thought the payoff to that was wonderful, in that the characters just looking into the eye of essentially, well, like God, like what would you call it? I don't know. This creature.
I thought that looked cool. I had no issues with that at all. I thought that was like, okay, this is quite cool.
And this thing that you thought was the fuel that was, they were using in farming and everything, it gave them fuel to live their lives and build a massive civilization on the surface, turned out to actually be this infection, Pando, that was essentially attacking the creature's heart. And with that, the world would destroy. So I thought it was a cool little twist, and I thought it was a cool take on the world. The problem is with me is just the characters. Now, a Disney film that I'm going to compare this to, which I think in and of itself was also trying to ape off things like, was it 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of thing, was Atlantis, The Lost Empire. You have this crew that go down to this world in a ship and experience this new civilization and whatnot that's under threat, and the cast of characters have to save it once and for all. Very much reminded me of that. Now, what Atlantis does have, which this doesn't have, is an amazing supporting cast, is your cast of characters. All of them have very definable personalities. The humor is great. It's actually written incredibly well. And you do get that sense of adventure. There's a bit of romance in there as well. It's really all encompassing. And it's this great realized world. With Atlantis, they had people to develop the Atlantean language and the lettering, and it felt like this very lived in world, and I really like how they built the culture up in that one. With this one, you have the interesting world and the colorful aliens and creatures and whatnot, but to me the writing just isn't behind those characters, and a lot of those supporting characters just kind of get lost to the wayside. Do you remember the Native American chick who's on board? Do you remember the name of the mom? Do you remember the name of Lucy Liu's character? I don't remember any of this. And I think that's the film's biggest downfall, really.
I don't really remember any of them doing anything either.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of there, and that was that was definitely the biggest flaw. The characters, just what makes a good story, good characters. You want to spend all your time with them. Like you think about like your favorite movie or your favorite video game or you like the whole thing. You want to spend time with those characters. You want to see those characters do things. You want to see how this character, because it's like when you've got a movie or anything like that, it's nice to see those characters in their downtime. So again, I'm going to use Star Wars again as the example. So when like Obi-Wan and Luke, they go to like the Mos Eisley Cantina, in a way that's kind of their downtime. They're not just constantly fighting, they're not constantly in peril. You see them as themselves, and you like that, and you get to know the characters, and you enjoy spending that time with the characters. But in this, like for instance, when Thingy is reunited, Jaeger and Searcher.
There you go. You can't even remember the name of the main characters. That says it all with this film.
I don't remember the name of anyone. That's not. I'm really bad with names. But so like, but they're down, like when they reunite and stuff. Like realistically, that's kind of like it was treated as their downtime. Like it was kind of like they were, they were kind of like the father and son. They had a, that kind of dynamic, and but I found searches kind of silly and a bit annoying, and I didn't really care for them. You
Mhm.
know, I do think it's a nice family movie in the sense of like you watch it and it looks aesthetically pleasing. I wouldn't go back to it, you know, per se, but when I see there's certain images I think in my head that shine up, and I think, no, that was all right,
Mhm.
you know. But like I say, the movie doesn't have enough journey for me to want to follow. It just has flashes. I go, that looks kind of cool. That looks kind
Mhm.
of cool.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the biggest strength of this film, as I mentioned, I really like the score. I think this was Henry Jackman's fifth Disney movie he scored, and you know, that theme, bum ba da, and how it comes back through the
Still not a
movie.
fan.
I remember it, but the fact that I can remember the actual score says that to me that's a memorable, well written score, and it's, you know, it's a total earworm. So I like that. I like the conceptual design of the world, and I think there are some good themes in there. As I say, like a good father and son story when told well. And I think there are aspects of this where the characters are having that heart to heart. It's not mishandled or anything like that. I think it is in good hands. But to me, they just didn't have the writing there to support those to support the supporting characters. You can clearly see Disney's fingerprints all over this with their agendas and trying to tick this box and tick this box and include this person and include this demographic. So if I get the impression that it was probably an idea that got compromised by too many cooks in the kitchen. But also I think that the story wasn't necessarily the most exhilarating thing, especially when we have that intro and it's this very fast, frenetic call to adventure. This is a bit more of a slow burn one. It feels like it's a bit more easy breezy. What I will say is with this world, though, is that I actually do think this would make a very good Kingdom Hearts world. I could imagine this being almost like, we've already kind of had this world, haven't we? In the first game, Monstro, we're in the belly of a beast essentially with all this, you know,
Don't
what am I
make it a
saying, like
Kingdom Hearts
biological
world
kind of things.
because they'll include like some random gay bar that they take Sora to, and we don't need that. We don't need that.
But I could imagine Sora sort of like riding around on that like flock of like blood vessels or whatever and
I
fighting
thought that
Heartless
sentence
that
was
look
going to
like
go
this.
somewhere else. With I can imagine Sora riding
Riding.
around. I thought that was going somewhere else entirely.
Maybe it would be too similar to Monstro, actually, but I don't know. I think this could be an interesting one. I think the environments are pretty varied. I think the Heartless could be interesting.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I agree. It looks like it reminds me of well, it's quite a sci-fi kind of when you see it. It's another planet. Because the thing is, when you watch you know, sci-fi movie and stuff, you got like another planet. You want it to be out of this world, and it does feel like that. It does give you that aesthetic. It doesn't feel like a, you know, just the same kind of like, oh, it's not even that big of a way. It does feel aesthetically pleasing, and it looks different, and it does feel out of this world and something that you're not used to. So yeah, it's like, do you remember watching Ozzy and Drix?
No, I haven't seen that.
So
No.
it's I can't remember what the movie was called, but there was a movie. Had Chris Rock in it. It was about like it was a cartoon. It was like a white blood cell and like he looked like a big pill thing. I don't know, but like they worked inside this kid's body and they were fighting, like, you know, they were like police detectives, they were shooting and stuff, but they were fighting against like these like, you know, viruses and stuff in the body. So like there were monsters and there were viruses that got into the body and they would like shoot them and stuff. Like it was a really cool concept. It reminded me of that. You know, that sort of thing, like within that. And I thought it was great because I remember the first time watching it, well, I watched because they made a series as well. I remember the first time watching it and they called it the city of Hector because Hector was the dude and they lived inside him. I remember for ages, I had a city of Hector, and then like I was a kid when I watched it, and then Hector, the actual boy show, like, was a scene with him walking around, and I was like, "That's funny." The city's name, like they got the same name, and I was like, and yeah. But like, yeah, I was reminded very of that. You know how there was a lot of weird kind of creatures, and like you say, it was working within that, and you know, it's a cool idea. It is. It's cool in a lot of ways, but yeah, it kind of stops there.
Yeah. I think a big reason for this film's failure, aside from all the factors that we've mentioned, Disney kind of fucked this one. I don't know if they did this on purpose or if they just got like sort of holier than thou, but they pulled the theatrical release in a number of different regions for
but
various
they've got
different
to because
reasons.
of the gay character.
Well, that's one of the reasons. So they pulled the theatrical release in France. and they put it straight onto Disney Plus. So already that was removing a lot of the revenue. And Disney were already doing this with a lot of the Pixar films. So Soul was released straight to Disney Plus. Turning Red was released straight to Disney Plus, and I think Luca. And I think that really pissed Pixar off, because obviously if you're working years on an animated movie, you want to get the benefits from that. And if you're releasing it straight onto streaming, I know you've got like subscription fees monthly and whatnot, but it ain't equating to anywhere fucking close what you would get it from actually releasing it in cinemas. So they pulled it from there. And they also apparently pulled out of the theatrical release in 20 other countries, including the Middle East, Africa, South Asia, Russia, and China. They pulled out of Russia because of the invasion of Ukraine, and Disney probably thought, "We'll show you, Russia. You don't get to see Disney's Strangeland Day One release."
And they're there just going, "Oh no, we'll invade another country if that's the case."
See, Ukraine, we've showed our support. We're not releasing our movie in Russia. Look at that. Worlds are turned on Strange World, because clearly that's at the forefront of their fucking priorities at the time.
If I was Putin at that point, I would have invaded another country. Like, right, what else do we get?
We demand the release of Strange World, damn it. Maybe he's a massive Disney fan. Who knows? And as you mentioned, they excluded the release in other regions because of the inclusion of a gay character, and they didn't want the film to be edited or censored because of this. So in a way, because Disney were holier than thou, they financially shot themselves in the foot, losing millions and millions and becoming one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. Not just for Disney, I do want to stress that, of all time, which is quite remarkable. And then there are other reasons that were leveled at the failure of this movie. So those all being one of them, because that's definitely going to impact it. Negative word of mouth. I remember at the time, like mentioning Strange World, and people even back then were like, "What's that?" A trailer was out, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, that looks a bit rubbish." So I think they really fucked the marketing. I just don't think the word of mouth was there. The budget was already quite high. I think it was like 180 mil, so that's quite large for an animated film. Lack of movie attendance, because it was still sort of around that weird sort of like COVID-19 time, and people probably weren't going to the cinemas. Released on Disney Plus, and also rocky company politics and conservative backlash over the inclusion of gay characters. Critical reviews and a vague and unremarkable premise, and lackluster marketing compared to other Disney films.
No cotton picking.
All of those things and more create a lovely little soup of your film losing money, and that's precisely what happened with Strange World. To summarize for me, because I don't really have much else to say on the film, to be honest, I think we're pretty effectively covered.
The thing is, there wasn't a lot there, was there? That's the thing. It's like, it's not like there was this to talk about. This it just wasn't really a lot there. Like I said, there was something there. There was something there in the sense of, like, you know, to make it more entertaining than you know, something that was like, fuck me, what is this? You know, I did think that a lot, but there was something there to kind of keep me looking and to be like, okay, cool. I mean, I did zone out a lot. I did have to watch it, like, rewind and go, what did I just miss? But there was enough, like, it was colourful. There was enough to kind of go, there was enough scenes that I, like, for instance, when they're inside, they're on that ship, and, you know, when they, you know, they're outside, you see like, those scenes I remember watching going, this is kind of cool. Like, there was bits there, but there was just, there was also like a lot, like, it just felt like the empty bits were really empty, you know, the lackluster thing really empty. But then the bits that were there were just kind of, that's kind of nice. And then they just stopped doing the good things, and I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I don't think this is the worst Disney movie that we've reviewed. I would rather
Encanto.
Oh god, that's tough. I hate Encanto, but there's probably more in Encanto.
Oh yeah, it's better. It's more of a Disney movie.
I think this is better than Chicken Little. I think this is better than The Wild.
Yeah, The Wild don't count. We don't like The Wild.
So yeah, I don't think
we
it's
don't
the worst.
talk about The Wild.
But it certainly ain't one of the best, definitely. And for all the reasons that we mentioned, I think there are elements. There is sort of like the nucleus, is that the right word, of a good idea in there. There's something. There are the themes in there, the father and son, the family dynamic, the nice kind of metaphor towards the end of them healing the heart, them restoring the heart, and it's also like the heart of the family.
Is it kind of like baking a cake and just like, you know, you see all the ingredients and you go, and then you look at them and you go, nah, I'm good.
It's like the cake that the good fairy bakes in Sleeping Beauty. It's like all the ingredients are there, but it comes out a little bit rubbish and a little bit
Yeah.
compromised.
Do you know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like having a chocolate cake and someone goes, here's a chocolate cake. And you cut it to get the slice, but then you realize all the egg is raw inside and it just drips out. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, you did well including eggs. I'm sure eggs are needed
Yeah.
for the actual making
You
process.
had a good idea. Well done. You put chocolate on it, but I'm not going to eat that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a shame because I think the idea of a premise like that, like a pulpy magazine, Indiana Jones type thing, is a great shout for a Disney film. I think if you had a more defined and well written cast of characters that were memorable and had their own unique personalities, I think would work really well. The look of the world's great and slightly more engaging and adventurous story, I think could have worked really well. As it is, it's just this kind of lackluster, you're going to forget it in a couple of days kind of movie. But it was nice to watch a new Disney movie, I suppose. And indeed, next week's is going to be a new one for both of us. We haven't seen this one. Disney's Wish. That is going to be number 61. I haven't heard good things about this, but I think this one does have a Disney villain. But I think the themes in this one are also kind of compromised. But we'll see. I remember seeing the trailer for this and actually quite liking the animation style. It looks like it's this weird blend of sort of CGI, but also traditional, like a little bit cel shaded, and it looks different from Disney.
That's got Simon Pegg in it, hasn't it?
It may very well have. I don't know anything about who's in it, what it's about, or anything.
Oh no, that's Shaun of the Dead. Sorry, confused. Forgotten.
Oh boy. So yeah, Disney's Wish next week, and then after that, we've got one new one. And then we're going to backtrack on the two from the US list, and we're all done. So we need to have a conversation about what we're doing after all that.
I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to Wish because it does intrigue me a little bit. I haven't heard good things, but it intrigues me. I've seen posters. It looks. We'll see. Mm-hmm. But I think it's going to be lackluster. I think it's going to be just kind of bare and like. Do you know what? So, I've seen bits of it, and it reminds me of Crash Bandicoot. Some like Crash Bandicoot scenery.
oh, great. Well, I mean, I like Crash Bandicoot, but I don't know how that translates to a Disney movie.
Yeah, but there's just some bits that I looked and I went, that looks like an environment for Crash Bandicoot. I don't know.
Oh Lord.
Well, work.
There we go. In the meantime, if you have watched it, Carl, if you eventually make it through to the rest of the film, let me know your thoughts on Strange World.
I wouldn't bother.
Do you think it's as bad as people say? Where would you rank it with all the other Disney films? Or do you actually just genuinely hate it and think it's the worst thing they've made? Anything in between. Please do consider subscribing to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. I'll be live with JX Editor on Wednesday this week to review the finale, the eagerly anticipated finale for Disney's Star Wars Skeleton Crew, episode 8. So I'll be live at 8 p.m. No, not 8 p.m. with him, 10 p.m. Well, sorry?
Star Wars doesn't exist anymore. Star Wars isn't a thing.
I know, and I've reached acceptance with that now, and I feel nothing but numbness.
And female stormtroopers don't exist.
Yeah. Oh, we have that clone trooper as well, Sister.
Yeah.
So we're living in different times now. Different times for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Carl says, has Dale enjoyed Skeleton Crew? I don't believe you watched it.
Dale refuses to watch anything Star Wars ever again. I mean, I will happily watch 1 to 6 over and over, but anything else does not exist in my mind. I played Star Wars Outlaws because I wanted some new Star Wars, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to bypass all the crap. It's going to be an open world Star Wars game. But I was very upset with every second the stormtroopers were female, and I was like, why are we doing this? And then you met an Imperial soldier, and it was a female, and I was like, all right, we get it. You know, and then there was a bounty hunter that was a female, and I was like, all right, we get it. Like, stop trying to prove some weird point. It's 2025, okay? Like, this proving a point thing, I thought you were over it by now. You know what I mean? It's like a 13-year-old that gets pissy and you're just like, you're 18. Like, stop going through puberty. It's that kind of thing. But
yeah,
that game angered me too. But I did complete the main story.
Oh, okay. Who came to rescue at the very end of the game?
Who came to rescue? What?
It depended in which sort of criminal faction you.
What's his name? The Pikes. There you go.
Oh, okay.
They came to rescue me.
I've seen something where Jabba shows up to rescue them at the end, and it's hilarious. I think I think that was on Mauler's review. Mauler's Let's Play. He backed Jabba all the way, and Jabba flies in a spaceship at the end to save the day.
I wanted that though, because I knew it was going to be the pirates because my thing was the best with them. But I really wanted, because it said, "Oh, who's come to save us?" They're on the hologram, and I was like, I know it's going to be him, but I really want it to be Jabba. I wanted to just see this big slug. I was like, I wanted to see that. But the reason I played that game is because I was like, yeah, but you get to go to Tatooine. You can get chased by a sandworm. I was like, I kind of want to do that. It seems like
God,
fun.
are we still doing Tatooine?
Oh yeah, Tatooine.
The only fucking planet we can go to. My God, I'm so over Tatooine. What is it? If you're looking for the brightest spark in the galaxy, you've come to the planet where it's farthest from. It's meant to be a planet where nothing happens. That's the whole point of the call to adventure. You're on a mundane, humdrum, comfortable world that no one fucking knows or even pays any attention to. And now it's like the epicenter of everything because it's the only nostalgic thing Disney have going for it. We've seen it in Book of Boba Fett. We've seen it in Mandalorian a shit ton of times. We got it in the video games. Did I mention Kenobi? We got it in Kenobi as well. I'm done with Tatooine. And then we got it in episode 9 as well. And then we got 2 other desert planets in the sequel trilogy that for all intents and purposes may as fucking well been Tatooine as well. I'm over it. Let's get some new shit.
Yeah, I mean, it was... do you know the thing that was really insulting? You go into the cantina on Tatooine and you've got some knockoff band playing a knockoff version of the song.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, but it's a knockoff, but they don't play that song. It's a weird knockoff that sounds similar, but not the same.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing? It just doesn't sound. It sounds like they're doing like a whole like. I mean, Star Wars. They're allowed to use it, but it sounds like they're going. You see what we're doing, but we're not allowed to play the song. And it's like, but you are, but you literally are allowed to. And they're like, nah, but we're not. And that's what it's like. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. It's like me having a child and painting it black because I wanted a black baby, but I know I'm not black, so I can't do it. Weird. I don't get it.
Carl says, maybe not about the whole black thing, but Carl says Jedi Survivor is exactly the same.
Do you know what? Jedi Survivor, I really liked Fallen Order. I really liked that game. I played Survivor and I got bored about 10 hours in, I think. I kind of want to complete that because I really like Fallen Order, so it might get better, but I got bored of that like 10 hours in.
Did you get to a Vader fight in the game? I don't want to spoil it in case you do.
No, I didn't.
Okay,
no,
I won't spoil it. But
I can't remember where I got to because it was a few years ago now. But I didn't get, because I know like Boba Fett shows up. I know there's bits. I didn't get to that. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel like I will complete it. If I manage to complete Outlaws, I feel like I owe it to Survivor to complete that. You know, but I will at some point. But just because I really, really liked Fallen Order. But that was a good game. That was a very good game.
It does feel like it's more or less everything now with Star Wars, doesn't it? Because I mean, well, number one, you have Rey as the lead. Then we follow it up with Jyn Erso. Then we had the Battlefront 2 game, and I'm like, okay. And then then we got Ahsoka. And then Mandalorian Season 3 was a bait and switch, and Bo-Katan is now essentially the main character.
Why don't they?
And then you've got this game. I'm like, I get it. I fucking get it, what you try to do. I understand the premise.
Why don't they just make Battlefront Galactic and have basically only based on episodes 1 to 6? You can go to loads of maps. You can play heroes and villains. You can go into space, but you can go between space and the. Why don't they do that?
No, because we've got to push that sequel era shit.
No, we don't. No one liked it.
It's like the Disneyland world that they built for Star Wars, and they have it like it's meant to be canon, which is really weird, and it's set during like episode 7 or some shit, or like episode 9.
Episode 7's not canon.
I know. I agree.
It didn't count. Didn't happen. Agree. There was an Ewok party, and then
expanded universe.
Yeah, well, they had an Ewok party, and there was this weird like Death Star 3 that they made, and it went bang and blew up, and everyone died, so there couldn't be an episode 7. That's what happened at the end.
Funnily enough, I think the original concept for Return of the Jedi was meant to be 2 Death Stars.
Two Death Stars? Why?
2 Death Stars. Not just a second Death Star, but 2. Count them, 2 Death Stars.
I still want to see Zurg's Death Star in Toy Story.
Oh, yeah. That could be the plot for Toy Story 5. or Toy Story 6.
You know what? I really hope so. In a way.
Yeah, because he goes out there somewhere in the galaxy. Zurg is constructing a weapon to destroy the
What's
world.
betting that Toy Story 5 will have a Last Jedi reference?
Oh boy, God. Well, yeah. Did Toy Story 4 have a? Because we were talking about this, the Star Wars references in the Toy Story movies, and how it follows the original trilogy. In the first Toy Story movie, you have, Emperor Zurg is constructing a battle station that will destroy the entire world or whatever it is. That's A New Hope. You've got the "I am your father" moment from Toy Story 2, Empire Strikes Back. You have the bit with Big Baby throwing Lotso into the trash and defeating his master, essentially. Return of the Jedi.
Didn't do it.
Well, then I'm thinking, does Toy Story 4 have to do Phantom Menace, or does it have to continue and do Force Awakens?
I think Toy Story 4 was them acknowledging that the sequel trilogy didn't happen. Because otherwise they would have to just do
Oh, exactly. 7. Yeah, they'd have to have
they just went, well, nothing happened after that. We can't do anything. But it'd be funny. I just think it'd be funny if Star Wars Episode 5, fucking Toy Story 5 does like a Episode 8 thing. It'd just be funny.
Mm.
And then they just kill off a character that we don't want them to kill off.
I've got a comment from Carl says, I think he means still don't understand how the sequel trilogy wasn't great. So Disney took a break from Star Wars films to then announce the film would be a Rey movie. Yeah. Which I believe has been either it's in production hell and has been put on hiatus or has indirectly been cancelled. I know that James Mangold, director of such films as Logan, which was pretty good, and also Indiana Jones 5, where he's been very vocal of his disdain towards fans. He can get fucked as far as I'm concerned. He's directing Go on, sorry.
I was just saying, no Indiana Jones movie was made after 3.
Agreed. I like how you included 3 now. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I include 3. It's my least favorite of them. I don't hate it. I just,
Oh, I thought you really fucking couldn't stand Last Crusade.
I don't hate it. It was the only one I watched and got bored. I was like, I watched it and basically, if it didn't happen, I wouldn't really care. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't hate it. It's kind of like, I like it more than I like the Attack of the Clones. I like Attack of the Clones more because I like Star Wars more. So it's like a weird, but as a movie, Indiana Jones 3 is better. But anyway, I accept that Attack of the Clones happened. Doesn't mean I like it. It's kind of like that. Like I accept it happened, but if I was to watch Indiana Jones, I'd watch 1 and 2. I probably wouldn't go back to 3.
Yeah. Well, James Mangold said that Dawn of the Jedi, I think it's set 25,000 years before Phantom Menace, and that he is not going to pay attention to any previous Legends expanded universe canon. He's going to do his own thing. So a lot of people were hoping for Old Republic, and apparently he's not going to do anything of that. But knowing what Disney's like, it's going to be this completely just shit film, and in comparison, Old Republic is going to be so much better, but they will still cherry pick bits from that to completely bastardize it. So I guarantee at the end of the movie, you're going to have this masked character from behind, and it's all going to be very low lit, and the music's going to be ominous. And of course, he's going to extend the red lightsaber because every character, even when they're talking, just has to ignite a red lightsaber because, he's evil. And he's going to turn around and someone's going to go, "Who are you?" And he's going to be like, my name is Revan. And everyone's going to be like, oh my God, the next movie's going to have Revan. And then the sequel will get cancelled and they won't do one. I guarantee I will bet money that they will do some shit like that.
Yeah. We're just going to pretend that Star Wars isn't a thing. The thing that annoys me is the Skywalker saga, they did the Lego one. That I thought the game was really great with the open world. I really wish they'd done the grunting again. I knew they wouldn't, but I wish they'd done
There is an
that.
option for it. I think there's an option in
there
the extras.
But it doesn't. Yeah, but it doesn't work. Remember the original when
you need the visual sight gags to go along with it.
Because it was literally they were just talking, and it was just took out the talking, and they were just like, and it just didn't work. Mm-hmm. Like I like the idea, the premise for it, but it just didn't work. But the thing is, like it was a good game. There was the open world, there was that, and I thought a lot of it was cool. But as soon as you play Episode 7, and anyone from the sequel trilogy shows up, like you're running around, suddenly Rey is walking around. You're like, go away! Like it just ruined the game. It just ruined the game.
Just 100% 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But you probably need maybe you need some characters from the sequel trilogy stuff to complete it.
Well, that's what I know. For ages, I just completed 1 to 6 for ages. But what really annoyed me, was going onto the map and I saw all these question marks on these planets, and I was like, I gotta do them, haven't I? And then I did, and then every time Ray came up or fucking Finn, I was like, oh, fuck off, and it just really upset me. So it ruined the game.
Bath Time says, big up Lord of the Rings drill fans. Lord of the Rings drill fans.
Drill.
Lord of the Rings drill fans.
Drill. I was
drill.
thinking Dill, like from Rugrats. That's where my head was at.
I mean, big up Lord of the Rings fans. Hey, yeah. Lord of the Rings drill fans. Maybe that's a reference to something. Oh, I know that Bath Time linked me to a song, this weird rap song with Legolas and Gimli. It might be a reference to that. Right, I think we'll probably round off here then. So we're just coming up to an hour. So thank you to everyone that's tuned in, kept the conversation going. Really appreciate you guys, and gotta love Mr. M's below. That was a nice little trip down face jacker, phone jacker memory lane. So yeah, that'll do it from us. We'll be back next week for Disney's Wish. Till then, have a great week. See you then.